I'm a normal guy. I'm a CPA. It's like it's not that hard to be a CPA, and I don't think this lifestyle is actually that hard to really attain.
When you're traveling, a lot of people take out their mask with you, right? So whether it's the lawyer, it's the business person, it's accountant, right? So when you
Yeah,
think of an accountant, a CPA, you think of kind of like a nerdy dork that has the 9 to 5, the suburb, the couple kids and whatnot. But a lot of the times, these are the people that are crazy when they're in the real world. This is kind of how I feel your account is. People are like, holy crap, the stories he has, is he living a double life? How does
yeah.
this contradiction work?
Got off the plane. I was just overcome with like happiness doing it. It was my first time ever abroad. I was in a new country by myself.
The merry-go-round, that there's nothing that really defines you with this freedom, right? It's the best thing and it's the worst thing.
And it's just not that difficult to like stand out compared to like the normal guy now. But a lot of people just like I see people complaining, and it's just like you're not doing anything to better yourself. It's like you want something for free, or you want something like given to you, and you're not really doing the work.
You are about to embark on a journey, not just through space and time, but through the very fabric of human perception. Imagine a world where the familiar becomes strange, and the strange becomes familiar. A place where the boundaries of reality blur, and the only limit is your imagination. This is a voyage into the heart of the unknown, where every turn reveals a new perspective, and every story challenges what you thought you knew. Welcome to Bold Perceptions, where we explore the myriad ways people see the world and discover that sometimes the most extraordinary adventures lie just beyond the horizon of our own understanding.
All right, here we go. Back in Bold. Oh my goodness. I got the sleazy gringo and Latin American look on right now. The hair is crazy. The shirt is wild. I'm enjoying my German summer besides a crazy storm that happened yesterday that got me a little cold. But I have a Twitter friend here that I've actually met in person, which is an interesting story down in Lima, Peru. But this dude, since we met, I mean, you're the man on Twitter. You're blowing up. I mean, the craziest stories. You gotta hide the identity a little bit with the shades and the anonymous name, the Degen CPA. But I'm happy to have you here. Man, you've been crazy on the Twitter the last year.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me. It's crazy. I was just using Twitter just to like meet people like you and fellow nomads. And up until like 4 months ago, I only had like 500 followers, and just kind of recently posted some stories to start blowing up a little bit. And they get invited to your podcast, and here I am.
Yeah, I know. We met in Lima, which was good. I had a situation with my flight going to Aruba, and I had a couple of days. I'm like, damn. I remember he was there, and I hit you up, and we got a little something. But you were having a blast in Lima,
Yeah,
Peru,
yeah.
and that's one of your big things on Twitter. That's like your hidden spot. Why? What is it so much about Lima that you loved? I enjoyed it. It was beautiful,
Yeah.
but I mean, this is your home base in the future, no?
Yeah, yeah, I really like Lima. There's a few things I really like. That one, when you're saying like Miraflores is like the more developed area of Lima, it's like a American city. It's pretty big. You have an ocean view. It's really nice there, and it's also incredibly cheap by comparison to pretty much anywhere else in the world or anywhere else in like South America. Like you go to Mexico City, you go to like Rio. The places are a little bit more expensive, but you can get a really good place for like 1,200, 15 bucks a month. You have the view of the ocean. You can get around really easy, and everything else is just very cheap by comparison. And it's kind of like a hidden gem. There's not that many nomads that really talk about it. And I was really surprised when I got there, and I had a really good time when I was there.
No, Peru was beautiful. I was
Yeah,
in Lima for a couple weeks, but then I really enjoyed Cusco and the Sacred Valley, down by the ocean too down there. I forgot the town, but there's so much to explore. I mean, it's a big freaking country getting around. But the people are nice.
mhm.
The food way better to for me than Colombia and Brazil. Not quite
Yeah,
as good as the Mexican food, but I was with someone, so I wasn't quite dating. I think that's a big
yeah,
part to what you enjoyed down there too. It was a shock.
yeah, yeah. I didn't want to mention that part, but yeah, definitely. I think a big thing about that is there's just not that many like nomads down there, and like just being a white dude that kind of down there, you stand out a little bit. They don't have like the gringo fatigue as like other kind of like cities do, like a Mexico City or Rio. So that's kind of like a big part of that too.
Well, speaking about that, we kind of were on the DMs, and I think you just went on a podcast going in on that topic. But
Yeah,
the whole dating sphere, because I think when you get lumped in to especially the Latin America Twitter bubble with the gringos,
yeah.
a lot of it is about Latinas and
Mhm.
Medellin and different categories here. But I mean, that's a lot of the reason why you blew up a lot. You were sharing a crazy amount of stories,
It's
and I kind of want to extrapolate this because so many dudes, when they think about Latin America, South America, they're just, okay, what about the girls? What about the girls? I get hit up all the time about this. I'm like, damn, like there comes a point too where it's just like you need to experience the Latina magic, but you need to just, okay, let's chill out a little bit. Are you getting kind of fatigued on that end?
yeah, yeah. At first, when I first started doing it, I was like, "This is awesome!" Like, I'll go on like a dating app and match with like a lot of them. It's just like it would just kind of keep coming. But after a while, it's just like that's not all you want to do. It's like you want like a relationship, you want like to like settle down, and you need like some like bro time with like your friends too. And it's just like when you're traveling a lot by yourself, a lot of your interactions might come through like dating apps on girls and just like meeting up with girls. And eventually that gets a little bit old just doing that over and over again. But it was a kind of a fun experience. And it's something that is impossible to ignore when you're like kind of down there for the first time.
I'd also say too, they bring you into the culture the best. When you're dating a girl, they bring you to like a local spot. They teach you about where they're from, whatnot. I think it's
Yeah.
one of the best ways to immerse yourself into something, not just like a walking tour guide or, if you
Yeah.
find local friends, that's beautiful. But usually for the traveler, to really get into the real nitty gritty of where you're at, it's through the dating app. It's the best traveling application there is.
Yeah, that's was a lot of pretty much how I did my socialization, just through like dating apps. It wasn't like intentional, kind of, or it wasn't like how I thought it would be. I was expect like I still meet people through like Twitter, friends from just whatever. But that's a big reason. Like you meet a girl and you just hang out with her for a while. I was in going a little bit from like Peru. When I went down to Colombia, I was only supposed to be there for 2 weeks. And the first day there, I ended up meeting a girl that ended up being my girlfriend for about a year. And like just kind of dating her, getting immersed in like into the culture was kind of like an experience there.
I think the whole dating thing has such traction in these bubbles on Twitter because once you like get your feet wet or you see this world, outside maybe the Western bubble, you just
Mhm.
want to tell someone. If you don't have like a diary, you're not writing this down. You're like, holy shit, I never imagined this sort of lifestyle, and it's something
Yeah.
dudes want to kind of bond around because like you're going into like a secret society. You're going into a world that not many people like quite understand. I've seen you post about
Mhm.
that Field app.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in the common person growing up or the common person has no clue that this stuff is happening behind closed doors, and it's a shock to people's system, right? And you kind of want to like talk to someone about it or figure out like what the hell is happening. But I think a lot of us come to the conclusion that the hedonistic stuff, I'm not trying to go all church on it, but it gets to a point where it's like, holy shit, like it's too much. Like you need to take a step back, and like when you taste all the rainbow, you realize that all the people that said before, like don't go down the rabbit hole, are kind of right. What do you think about that whole premise? I said two different points on there.
I agree with that. It's like at first you experience it and it's like, wow, I can't get enough of this. It's just like you just kind of want to keep going, keep kind of doing your thing, kind of being like a fuckboy a little bit. But after a while, it kind of gets old. It's all like short-term relationships, all just kind of like hedonistic stuff. And it's after a while, you're like, okay, I experienced that. I need a little bit more of that, or a little bit something longer lasting. And traveling around a lot, especially being a nomad, going from like city to city to city, it's like it's all kind of like the same interaction. It's like you meet a girl, you hang out with her like if you meet a good one, you hang out with her like 3 or 4 months. You spend your time with her when you're there, but you say goodbye, which is really sad at the end of it. And it's you constantly have those like kind of short-term relationships which really don't amount to anything, and that's kind of gets old in a while. And it's kind of sad saying goodbye every single time. And you just need something a little bit more like long-lasting and kind of like firm in place is what I kind of have been learning.
I also think too, though, it's life on fast forward mode. So you get used to it and you get better at it. You understand to learn and appreciate how to enjoy the moments, right? Because in normal life, your friends are going to leave sometimes, it might be 10, 15 years. People are going to die, 20, 25 years. But this nomadic life, and strictly talking about the woman, like it's a couple months here and there. You had the most beautiful times ever. You're both free. You're in this, love bubble. Nothing else in the world matters. And then it's bye-bye, right? But to me, it's
Yeah.
just life on fast forward mode. But I think why it's such a important conversation, and dudes get really into it, especially like on the Twitter. And I talked about it a lot on the podcast, is because you want to like express this to people and try to understand this world, right? Like, I think this is why maybe we kind of bond, or we've had talk, we met in person. It's just, not many people are living this kind of lifestyle and going through these relationships and seeing these different environments, and being the person that you're thrown into a place where no one knows you, you don't speak the language necessarily. You're a foreigner, right? People feel they can put their insecurities, their who they are out the window and be totally free with you, right? This is a rare experience. Not many people that don't travel can understand this, right? And it's something that a fucking philosopher or therapist needs to try to help out some of these nomad types, because you go down weird rabbit holes trying to understand it.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a lot of times I'll meet someone through like an app or whatever, and I immediately like are closer to them than if I would meet them back at home in like the U.S. or something like that. Like we'll meet, we'll get very close, and we share a lot of like personal stuff about each other, and it's just like a real like you're condensing a relationship down very quickly, and you kind of build on that. It's a little like delicate to like explain it, but it's an interesting thing to kind of experience. And another point you mentioned or I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but there's actually not too many nomads actually doing this. There's probably less than like 1,000 people on Twitter posting about it. It's like kind of like a smaller community than what you would expect. And there's not too many people that actually have like experience that have been around for a while and keep doing it.
100%. So through this Twitter kind of blow up here, I've seen a lot of your stuff go viral, and then dealing with clowns, because there's a lot of people that have no freaking idea what we're talking about, that just see the outside, tweets, or take their limited perception and throw stuff at you. Tell me about that. What's it like having to deal with people that have no real idea about what you're actually talking about? Some of it is pretty blatant what you're saying, but
yeah. Some of it is like a lot of people don't they think people down there like in like Peru or like Colombia, they live in like huts or something, or like they're actually like third world like people. But a lot of them they have normal jobs, like they're architects, they're dentists, they have like their entire life down there, except it's in a different country and it's in a different language. But just growing up in like an American kind of bubble where you have like the American influence kind of on you, thinking like every other place is like a shithole, and they might not be as like nice as America, but they're still like actual people living normal lives down there, and they have their own friends, their own family. And it's not like they're trying to like get a green card. I get that a lot. Like the girls just talk to you for a green card. Like, no, they don't want to come to the US. They don't want to abandon everything. They have a great life down there. And it just happens that I happen to be down there, or like we're like nomads are kind of be down there and just kind of experience that firsthand. And that's probably the biggest thing I get, is just like they're just with you for money or a green card. And the money thing is kind of weird, because you could say that about like getting in America too, but whatever.
Talk about that cultural brain blast, because obviously growing up in the USA, me and you both, we lived in kind of a delusional bubble, right? And then when you started exploring the world and seeing kind of reality, what were some big learning experiences, things that hit you? And where was it when you first kind of felt that?
I'll start going way back. I started doing like solo travel back in like 2013. I went on a trip by myself to Hong Kong, and it was my first time ever leaving the country. I was trying to get any of my friends back home to go with me, but they couldn't do it. And I had some points from like traveling for work. So I'm like, I'm just going to go to Hong Kong. What the hell? And I went there and I landed, and I just kind of like ventured around, and I'm like, they're the same like us, except they're like very similar to us. They all have jobs. They have corporate jobs. They're normal people, except they like grew up in a different like area of the world. It was really interesting to see in like that kind of sense. Trying to think of like other culture things, but it's interesting. A lot of people are like a lot of like, especially in South America, they're like very like family oriented too. It's much more so than the U.S. A lot of people kind of live with their family a little bit longer, which looking at it, it's probably like something that Americans should do. They just kind of don't. But yeah.
So Hong Kong really flipped the switch. I know that Asians live different, but Hong Kong's got a lot of British influence too. That's
Yeah,
still shifting.
it did. Yeah, I remember when I landed at the like, and this was like 10 years ago at this point. I'm like, I can do whatever I want, and it's just like I'm here to have fun. I'm just meeting people. I was like, this was a great experience, and I just kind of really want to try and figure out how I can like maneuver my life to be able to go where I want when I want, and that's kind of always been like a goal of mine, trying to like maneuver my career to give myself that flexibility.
Speak on that freedom part, because this is a thing that hits like every traveler that gets addicted to it. I remember when it really hit me, I was solo traveling through the north of Italy, hopping off
Mhm.
trains, in random villages, and it was the most freeing feeling in the world, right? Nothing else mattered. How you grew up, where you're from, who your friends are, who you even
Mhm.
are. You're just in the moment. You're thrown out of your head, totally, just living, right? That feeling you chase all the time as a nomadic person. I think I'm doing this shit year round, and I think every 3 to 4 months it kind of hits you like, holy shit, what am I doing? Like, can I consistently live like this? Because here's the problem, bro, is like, a lot of people are defined by their external things, right? So their friends, the job they have, the car they drive, the church they go to, where they're from, right? Like, okay, this tells me who I am. I know who I am, right? When you're living this nomadic life, there's nothing outside that tells you who you are. Okay, maybe you have a nice watch. Okay, maybe you're dressed nice, whatever. But basically, it's all in your head. One day, someone could think you're the king of the world. The next day, you're a loser on the side of the street, right? We relate it back to dating all the time. One day you're with a freaking lawyer model walking the streets of Milano. The next day, you got dumped by an American girl tourist in Portofino. Like this is the merry-go-round that there's nothing that really defines you with this freedom, right? It's the best thing and it's the worst thing. What do you think about that?
I agree. I love the freedom. You can do whatever you want. But it kind of comes back to is like after a while, it gets a little bit lonely for me. You're always there like by yourself. You have the freedom to do whatever you want. But after a little bit, like I was doing it for 2.5 years before I came back to the U.S. It's like it feels so good to have like a place where I can actually just store my shit and just like kind of come home and like have like roots somewhere. But I always kind of crave just being able to just go and just like explore someplace new and just kind of go venture around, have some fun, and just see what develops and just have a good time doing it.
So, what is the balance for you, do you think, right now? 'Cause I think you're mid 30s now. I'm not sure with your age, but you need a base. And then, what are you kind of thinking the plan is to satisfy both cravings right now?
Okay, I have right now I have an apartment back in the U.S. So probably at the end of the year, I'm probably going to try and buy a place. At least I'm building equity. Then afterwards, I'm going to try and start doing like 3 or 4 months in like a new city each kind of like period. Like I want to probably spend like the winters in or the U.S. winters in Lima and probably go somewhere in the summer like Barcelona or someplace in Europe for art version of summer. And just being able to like be able to go and do that and have like certain places I go and live. One thing I really want to do is I want to just keep going to like the same cities over again because it gets when you go to like a new city every couple months, it gets a little tiring, like joining a gym again, meeting friends again, kind of starting over. But what I would like to do is like I have my base here in the US. I want to go back to Lima and probably go to Europe and just kind of set up like certain like 3 different cities that I spend time with and just kind of like bounce between them. I feel like that would give me like the best kind of quality of life.
Yeah, it seems to be what a lot of people get into, multiple bases and so forth. I personally want to do probably like 6 months in Brazil, do the Italian summer, and then save like 3 months for random crazy travel. I think that will satisfy me because like even now, like I'm living in Munich, in the city center. It's beautiful, Hakuna Matata, but now I'm getting to almost 6 months here, and I'm like, I'm fiending to get on the road
Yeah,
and go crazy.
yeah,
And then after a
yeah.
couple
That
months,
was
I'll be like, damn, I want my friends. I want to have a routine. I want all this. And I think there are solutions to this, though. Like for the person that, is not location independent, like you need to just get out of your autopilot routine. You go to the museum, somewhere, Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota, right? So go to Minneapolis, go to a museum, go to a different lake. There's 14,000 lakes. Just get out of the routine. Because the second you slip into the routine, and I slip in the routine pretty quick if I'm stationary in a place for a while, life goes fast. You get tired more. You don't
yeah,
feel, I mean, it's weird. It's a weird feeling and it scares me. Like, I don't want
yeah,
to feel
yeah.
that.
Yeah, the life goes by fast. It's such a good point on that. It's like when I'm back home here, it's like I've been here for 4 months now, and it feels like I really haven't done anything. And compared to like when I'm on a road, kind of going to like different cities, it's like it's always kind of a new experience, and it feels like just having like different experiences constantly like that slows down life a little bit. And it's just like it just you just have more fun that way. It's just like you're prolonging everything. You don't get stuck into that routine, and you're just kind of experiencing a little bit more. And that's what like a big thing I really like about it about this lifestyle.
Okay, so I'm really curious on this because like I brought up before, when you're traveling, a lot of people take off their mask with you, right? So whether it's the lawyer, it's the business person, it's whoever, accountant, right? So when you
Yeah.
think of an accountant, a CPA, you think of kind of like a nerdy, a dork that has the 9 to 5, the suburb, the couple kids and whatnot. But a lot of times, these are the people that are fucking crazy when they're out
Yeah.
in the real world, or they're in their different places, right? Is this kind of how I feel your accountant is? People are like, holy crap, when I think of an accountant, I think, of what I just said, but the stories he has, is he living a double life? Is he, Ben Affleck, that movie, that's a great movie. I think you
Yeah.
like that too, the assassin.
Yeah.
How does
Yeah.
this contradiction work, bro? Like during the day, you're a totally different person, no? Or online with your
Yeah,
job?
yeah, pretty much. It's like throughout the day, like I have a normal 9 to 5 job that I work in like a medium sized like accountant firm. And it's just like I do my normal work. I interact with all my colleagues kind of the same way how you'd expect like an accountant to interact. Except I have like I want to like have as much fun as I can possible. It's like this lifestyle being like what I do for work is it enables me to like go and do like other things I want to on the side. So I'm pretty grateful for that. And one thing I want to mention is I wasn't always remote when I was doing like as a CPA. When I in like 2018 or so, I knew I wanted to angle myself like remote, and I had to like strategically plan like my career the next 4 or 5 years to give myself the highest possibility of going remote. So it's like I knew the specific area in accounting that I had to go into. I knew like what career path I had to take, and while I got like better job offers, they would take me a little bit further away from being remote and being able to like have this kind of lifestyle. So I like kind of like push myself into this, even if I'll be making a little bit more less money. It's just a lot more fun for me, like overall in general. I that kind of went on like a little tangent from your original question, but I feel like that was a decent response.
No, I've seen you talk about this a lot. So, what do you think you would trade off from making in where you're from in the United States a year to what you could make remotely? What's the trade off? Is it 250 home? Is it 100 on the road? Tell me, what is the sweet
It's
spot?
probably like 75 grand, I would say. It's like I have a pretty decent like salary now. I'm a senior manager at my firm, so it's like I kind of climb like the ladder now. And it's at a point where it's like if I save more money, I'm just not going to do anything with that extra money. I'd rather just like, okay, I have a good savings right now. I'd rather go out, experience the world, and just have more fun. Because at the end of it, when I'm like 65, 70, 60 even, it's like, am I going to be happy that I have like an extra X amount of dollars in saving, or I'm going to be happy that I went out and like had as much fun as possible? So it's like I'm like kind of focused on like just having as much fun as I can right now, and just as long as everything kind of works out. Otherwise, I'm saving good, I'm making good money, and just putting away. Everything else kind of works out.
What was that study? Is it 80,000 now? The happiness study? Anything after that kind of diminishes the returns? I assume, especially too, if you're location independent, because 80 grand in most of the world is solid income. I mean, even in Europe, man,
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
bad for the Europeans. I mean, I saw one chart like the top software engineers or something are making like 60,000 euros in the USA, 300,
Yeah.
400 easy. Like
Yeah.
it's
It's nuts. If I did what I did in like London or like Italy, I'd be making a third of what I make now. And it's just like, that's outrageous. And it's like, I can just go there and live for a little bit. So it's like, I'm really grateful that I'm American. If I wasn't American, I'd be doing everything I can to get like a job in America, then like venture out from there. But it's a really big like plus we have that a lot of people really don't realize.
Is a lottery ticket, 100%. Now, what do you think about this though? Because a lot of dudes, I don't know if you do, but they just start hiring the VAs, right? Down in Southeast Asia, the Indians. I've had really good success with the Balkan people. Like, when comes the point where the job creators realize in the USA that why the fuck am I hiring an American when the AI and the Indian over there can do it for a tenth of the price? Do you think that's going to come to us or no?
Yeah, I think it's slowly starting to come now. At my firm specifically, we use an India team, and they can do work up until like the senior associate level. And it's like they make $8 an hour or however much they make, and compared to like an American senior associate who's probably making like 85, it's like that's such a huge difference. There's no other like a lot of firms are just going to start doing that more, and it's like the people in the different countries and like the India and like the Balkans, they're just going to start improving. The one thing that like prevents like them from going up a little bit further is like their lack of English and their lack of like being able to like communicate more like pretty efficiently. But that's going to eventually like resolve a little bit. It's like I think we only have like 10 more years of being able to like take advantage of how much like the US makes as opposed to, or until like the rest of the world slowly starts gradually catching up to us. And I feel like we're starting that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can see happening is the government steps in. But I'm a big free market person, and if that's the case, I think there'll be a lot more issues with it. But it just seems like a lot of people are behind the ball right now, paying people stupid amount of money for stuff that can be done in a flash for a tenth of the price, and it's worrisome, you know. So you need to have sales skills for sure. You need to know the right people and maybe be a good manager of said people. But the time is coming fast, and
Yeah, and I
it's
think it's
kind of
going to like, yeah, it's going to accelerate more as people like the younger generations. I feel like the boomers just don't know that much about how efficient a lot of other people are in different countries. But people like our age in like their 30s, they know. It's like as we get like up into like the ranks and like kind of like progress further, we're going to be like, okay, I can go hire this person from the Ukraine who can do it for like a third of the price. And they're happy working until like 2, 3 a.m. because they're making good money compared to what they could be. And I feel like it's something that's inevitable at this point.
So tell me, Mr. Degen, South America, besides Lima, where have you had beautiful experiences? Where do you kind of recommend? Have you been any places like off the radar that are
Uh,
interesting?
I haven't gone too many places off of the radar. One thing I was worried about is I would make a lot of friends through like dating apps, and that was a big thing. And I didn't want to go to a country of like 100,000 people and just there's 17 girls on there like the dating apps and just kind of run it out of them. So I primarily stayed. I was in Lima for a while. I was in Medellin for a while, where I had my girlfriend there. I spent some time in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and a lot of time in Mexico City. I also spent some time in Playa del Carmen, just kind of like meeting some friends there. But I wouldn't recommend Playa because it's a smaller city and it's more like a digital kind of nomad hub. And it's like that really wasn't like
When
the
were you
best time
there?
period. Uh, I was there December of 2023 and like April and May of 2023 too. So that's what like right around then.
I went there during the COVID because it was one of the few countries open after Italy shut down again, and it was chill. I mean, it was the only place you could really go, and I had a blast. But then I got part of the expat group on Facebook, and it seems like ever since then it's just been on a down trajectory. And it used to be just Canadians, right? Now all the Americans flooded it, and even
Yeah,
crime has gone crazy, just like Tulum, and
yeah,
all the cartel wars and the new
yeah.
airports and definitely the Riviera, which I mean, there's a lot of beautiful spots, a lot of fun time to be had, but it's almost another part of America now.
Yeah, I kind of want to mention this. Playa del Carmen is the only place I ever gotten robbed, and the people who robbed me were the police there. They just
Peace.
saw me walking home like drunk late at night once, and they like stopped me, and I was like barely able to function. And they were like, "Okay, give us your wallet," and they took my wallet, and when I got it back, I had no cash in it. And I'm like, "Fuck!" It's like I just can't do anything at that point. I'm like, "Okay, whatever." That's kind of like the tax I pay.
The only time you've been robbed,
Yeah, that's the only time I've ever gotten robbed was that time.
but you're going out at night, you're putting yourself in risky situations, and no issue, no?
No, no issue. I did get like attempted robbery in Cartagena in like 2016. I met some or I met a local when it was like when I was still like solo traveling. I wasn't doing this like full time as like a lifestyle. I was in Cartagena taking pictures and a local comes up to me and he starts talking to me in English and I'm ignoring him at first thinking he's going to scam me. Then he's like, "Hey, where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from Philadelphia." He was like, "Oh, you're from Philly. I lived in Philly." And it turns out he actually did live in Philadelphia and he was talking to me about where he lived, all that stuff. So we ended up going out, getting a drink, and just kind of like chilling in Cartagena. Then as time progressed, he's like, "Hey, me and my friends are kind of going out a little bit. You should come with us." So I go out with him and three of his friends who are bouncing around like the local bars of Columbia. Then we end up at a club and we're all drinking. We're all doing like things we shouldn't have. 3 a.m. rolls around. He's like, "Okay, I want $1,000 US." And I'm just like, "What the fuck?" It's like, "I don't have that cash on me." He's like, "You got to go to an ATM and get it." I'm like, "The ATM's not going to give it to me." He's like, "Okay, pay the bar we're at with your credit card." I'm like, "Okay, sure, I'll do that." I paid the bar we're at with my credit card, immediately come home and dispute the charge. And that was the only other kind of instance that I had on that. But ever since then, I've been like very cautious about making friends with any locals or anything like that because that is a very common scam or kind of like a tactic they'll use down there.
Speak on that though. What are your safety tips relating to location, who you meet? Are you meeting in public areas? You're
Yeah,
not
I
wearing
try
any
and
fancy stuff?
No, I usually don't. I don't wear watches. If I usually take like a burner phone out with me as opposed to my normal phone, so I have like a $60 Amazon phone that I have like an eSIM on. If they take that, I don't care. I have multiple ATM cards, so like when I'm abroad for like a long period of time, I only take out one ATM card, only take out one credit card. So if that gets stolen, I have the rest of myself back at home that I won't be like dependent on, or that I won't be like in a situation where I'm fucked and I can't get any money out. So I try and like make sure like anything I have on me is like replaceable at my apartment and vice versa. So nothing like that really happens. Another thing is it's like me meeting like girls on dating apps. It's like you just got to be like cautious about it. If like two 20-year-old girls want to invite you to their place right away, that's a setup. Just don't do that. It's like that's nothing good's going to come from that. You got to be like kind of smart about it and like just kind of being reasonable about it. Like if you're a 55-year-old guy and like two girls are trying to hang out with you, that's probably a setup. They're trying to invite you over to their house right away. That's probably a setup. And just kind of be smart with it. Be careful about locals because a lot of times they're befriending you with like an agenda to try and rob you at the end of it, which sounds like kind of fucked up, but that was my one experience with it. So I'm like very like hesitant about stuff like that, especially with people that are like more into like the nightlife scene and somewhat like club promoters or anything like that. Like anyone that's like a little bit sketchy in their career would probably be like sketchy or more prone to like sketchiness.
Yeah, it's all about awareness. Like I talked about before, a lot of the times, even some things that are too good to be true or like they are really good. I've had those kind of experiences where I get the invitation or I get stuff and I'm like, holy shit, there's no way I'm getting out of this alive. And it turns out to be totally normal. And like I said, people take the mask off, right? So you want to believe that they're sincere and they're whatnot, but usually your gut will tell you, okay, there's something a little off on this, and then you have to kind of throw on a mask here and there, and you learn it with the travel experience. But when you first start, I don't know. I think sometimes you need to throw yourself into the deep end and see what happens. I mean, obviously, don't get scoped or be doing cocaine with like the cartel or something, but have fun and just when your gut says get out, get out. That's my opinion. I've
Yeah.
been robbed once through all this traveling, and it was totally completely my fault. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you need that one mistake that like teaches you, okay, don't do that again, or okay, I need to be a little bit more cautious about things like that. And from that one time, you're a lot more cautious on it. You know what to look for. You kind of like see the similar kind of patterns on like what's kind of happening and kind of like how the interactions with people go when it's kind of a little bit weird. So you know what really to look for.
I've seen you discuss this a lot on the Twitter, and I think that's why a lot of people appreciate your vulnerability. But you've talked about being a short dude. You've talked about getting
Yeah,
your teeth done, the hair. You're wide open with it.
yeah,
This is a big topic in like kind of these spheres, or I mean, a lot of Western dudes are not getting laid anymore, right? So
yeah.
they're the incel movements. These type of people. How do you kind of throw back at those types with like you talk about, okay, hey, I'm not the tallest dude and you guys have issues
Yeah,
with that. I look max and so forth. Kind of
yeah.
get into
I,
to that for me.
like I hate the phrase like looks max, but it like makes perfect sense. It's like you gotta like when you're like a guy now in the West, so like you're competing against like every other guy in the West, and it's like you need to do things to like make yourself stand apart. Like you need to like make as much money as you can. If you can get like little incremental improvements, like I got my teeth done when I was in Colombia, and that was $8,100, but that's by far like the first thing people ever say to me. Like it's by far the first thing people say to me on like girls say to me on dating apps when I'm out in like public, just kind of go like goof it off. People all the time come up and tell me like, "Hey, your teeth look amazing," and it's just like that is something that's like people can get done, and it's just like it just helps you a little bit. There's no like downside in trying to like look your best, even outside of like a dating kind of like sphere. Just to present yourself the best. It gives yourself like really like the best life that you can be. And like I'm like in my mid 30s. I'm 36 now. It's like I see a lot of my friends, my older friends I had from like the neighborhoods, are gaining a little bit of weight, they're losing their hair, and it's just like all that kind of like adds up, but it's not too hard just to like fix it. It's just like the hair was just a one-time thing when I was in Mexico City. I got that done, got the teeth done, and it's just like just take care of yourself and you'll be fine. It's like a lot of guys like complain about like having trouble, but it's like they don't work on themselves. Like they're always a little bit fat, they're a little bit like unkempt, and it's just not that difficult to like stand out compared to like the normal guy now. But a lot of people just like I see people complaining, and it's just like you're not doing anything to better yourself. It's like you want something for free or you want something like given to you, and you're not really doing the work.
Yeah, I mean, this goes into the red pill stuff and so forth. It definitely does seem the times have changed with the online dating, the social media, and so forth. And a lot of dudes are like, okay, they're just gonna throw in their sticks and give up on it. But I saw something recently you said, and I replied to it. I'm like, dude, there's never been an easier time for the
Yeah.
average schmo to live the Dickie Greenleaf life, Mr. Talented Ripley in Italy on a basic freaking salary nowadays. Like it's so easy if you take the jump, if you do stuff that everyone else isn't doing, and dudes like it doesn't get through their head, and it's quite sad because there's a
It's
lot of
like,
issues right now.
yeah, it's just like you just gotta figure out a way to do it and just go do it. It's like I knew like how to become remote and just kind of start traveling. It took me a little bit. It took me like 2.5 years of living in the U.S. From when I decided I want to be remote and be able to travel to be able to get to the point where I can travel like freely. And it's like it's worth it. It's like the time's gonna pass anyway. You gotta like figure out where you want to go and just kind of like set up the plan to kind of get there. It's the thing is a lot of people just don't set like their goal for themselves. You're just kind of like walking through life without like knowing where they're going. It's just like, okay, I want this to happen. I want this to happen. Then set up a plan on how you kind of go like get there. And it's going to happen. It's just like you're just going to continually move forward to or get closer to it until you actually get there.
How much do you think it has to do with the social media though? Because I think I kind of grew up with it at the tail end of my high school, but nothing crazy. I don't think you had it until maybe mid 20s where it was actually like in everyone's face. But I think a lot of people they're on this thing and they see these lives people are living, and it's just like holy shit, that's going to take 5 years, 10 years to get to. A lot of it's fake. People are posting,
Yeah,
right?
a
But
lot of it is fake. I know like people specifically like that like had to sell like a lifestyle for their course or whatever, but it's interesting and it's weird. It's like a lot of people see like these lifestyles, and it's just like they never try to like kind of like attain to it. When I see stuff like that, I'm like, those are goals. It's like I want to do that. I want to be on a yacht in like the Mediterranean. How does that happen? And I look at that as like kind of like a motivation kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, I think there's the Duber mindset is taking over a lot of people, and they're not realizing maybe that's why a lot of your tweets have hit. Is people are like, "Holy shit! There's how does that guy do that?" But you're an average dude. Like you
Yeah,
took the
it's
steps
like
to get to where you are. You worked hard, but it's not like you're a Superman at all. And,
yeah,
and people
I
think this is like a extraterrestrial, living these type of lives. It's not.
It's not. It's like I'm a normal guy. I'm a CPA. It's like it's not that hard to be a CPA, and I don't think this lifestyle is actually that hard to really attain. There's a ton of remote jobs kind of doing what I'm doing. It's just like you had to figure out like, okay, how do I do it, and just kind of go and get there. And pretty much anyone can really do it. If you're like, there's a lot of like remote engineering jobs that kind of like different paths, but you just had to figure out like how to do it and just kind of like push forward and do it. A lot of people are just kind of content living their 9 to 5, going to work, driving into the office each day, and they never actually like sit down and like put pen to paper. It's like, okay, what's the life I want to live, and how do I make that happen? A lot of people don't do that, but it's like it's not that hard. It's not difficult to do that. It just takes a little bit of time to actually get there. But it's like the time's going to pass anyway. You might as well try and structure your life to get to it. And even if you don't get to it, you're going to get close to it and give yourself a good life anyway.
Now, I appreciate your authenticness on the socials, but I've seen some dudes, come at you through the whole, the Christian aspect, the generosity, all that. And I brought up at the start the hedonistic lifestyle. I think anyone that lives a life that you get to experience things that were only in the movies and that you dreamed of as a kid, you get it and you realize like, damn, it didn't fulfill me like I thought it would be. It never does. But kind of bring into that. I don't want to be a whole Mr. Monastery monk type of person, because I think everyone should go down the yellow brick road and see for themselves and then realize it's not necessarily worth it. But what do you say to the people that kind of come after you like, okay, find Jesus, stop doing this?
Like I'm
And
just really having, yeah. It's like I'm just having fun with everything. It's like one big theme of my life is I'm just trying to have as much fun as I possibly can. It's like, and I'm just kind of experiencing things, kind of doing different things. If that involves like doing different drugs or whatever, and just like being more like a hedonist, like a Playboy type person. Like I don't care. I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to experience it and see what I like and don't like. It's like we only have like this is going to sound very like kind of mushy, but like we only have one life. It's like I just want to like have fun. I want to experience everything I can and just have as much fun as I can. And it's just like I'm a normal guy. I just want to go and have like decent experiences and do like fun shit. And people, I feel like a lot of hate that I get from that are people that just never tried it or just they see someone living something that they're not doing, and they're a little upset about it.
See, I think a lot comes from jealousy, right? But as someone who's lived similar experiences, who's lived to the extreme, I think there comes a point too where you're like, this does not give me the total purpose I need. I don't feel as fulfilled, right? And I'm not saying I'm, went to the church and gave up everything and moved to a mountain, right? Even though right now I live right next to a monastery, which is quite interesting. But I found my purpose through this podcast, through creating beautiful things, putting my experiences out to the world. It feels good to create, right? I think everyone should create, not just consume. Also playing American football still. I'm still playing this game half the year. It gives me a clear-cut purpose. I'm with the boys. We go to war. You have one goal, to win the game. And then obviously in a couple years, I've said when I'm 35, I'm going to try to have a family, right? I'm going to have a family. And I think that'll give me, boom, all the purpose I need. But I like to talk about this point because I think you see all these different things. You experience this, you meet all these different people, and then there comes a point like, for what? What the fuck am I doing? Right?
Yeah.
And where does your purpose come from besides the having fun point? Or, have you gotten there yet to think about that?
It's like I'm kind of on the same point of view. It's like I want a family. I think the thing that will make me the happiest and the most is like having a family and raising kids and trying to make them be better versions of me and give them better lives than I do. I feel like that's really the only like kind of purpose you have on like a planet. Like I'm experiencing all this. I want to bring someone else in the world. I want to bring children in the world and like teach them everything I know and like give them a better opportunity and give them like more experiences that I had. And I feel like when it comes down to like that would be like the most fulfilled you can possibly have. It's like while I'm doing like all this like hedonistic stuff, I'm going out having fun. It's like that's something I want, and it's like I've been looking for it. It hasn't happened, but I feel like that's kind of like hopefully that's where my path takes me eventually.
We discussed it before, like, okay, we get settled and then we had the urge to go out into the jungle. But I really do believe that once you do all these experiences, once you get everything out of your system, the moment you find that someone, you raise the family, or you find like a real big purpose, you're not going to be as distracted, right? There's a lot of people that have families when they're younger, or they're devoted to Jesus, God bless them, whatnot. But there's it's in the back of their head. Like you see a Mormon who loses their freaking mind. They're usually the craziest people, that they get outside the church and then they be completely lost, right? So I believe that the human should experience as much as they possibly can, and then I think it gets to a point where like, okay, now it's time to dedicate myself to something because I'm not distracted.
Yeah, even when you're dedicating yourself to something like that. When I was in Ibiza, one of my friends that comes with me is married and has 2 kids, and like he comes and he just has like a great time with us. It's not like when you get married and settle down, that immediately stops. You can keep doing stuff. Of course, it's going to die down a little bit, but you can still go out and have like fun from time to time, which I feel like a lot of people equate like one. You can only do one or the other, but you can like intermingle them in a way.
See, that's why I told you the 6 months in Brazil, Italian summer, and then leave 2-3 months if I need and I want that crazy travel, right? Balance. I think the cliche thing is it comes down to balance, right? And that's huge for people in our life because a lot of dudes don't have balance. Okay, they don't have any legit friends. The places they go, they're mixing and matching with different relationships, different cities, drinking a lot. A lot of them become alcoholics, like because they don't have the comfort is the biggest thing. This is what I want to ask you. I talk about this a lot, is oxytocin. I think my brain ticks differently because it takes me only like 3-4 months before I'm like, damn, where's my family? Where is someone that actually gives a fuck about me? My best friends, like, I need comfort, right? Oxytocin gives you, comfort in the brain that you can, okay, everything's going to be okay. How do you find your oxytocin on the road?
It's hard. It's like I was doing it for a while. It was like 2 years, and like towards the end of it, before I came back to the U.S., I really got drained out. I'm like, all I'm doing is like partying. All I'm doing is like meeting up with like girls from dating apps. So like, I need like my friend group. I need my family. I need to like settle down for a little bit and just like have a normal life. And that's part of the reason why I'm back here in the U.S. for a little bit. It's like I need to set up roots. I need a base. I need to be able to come back and like just live a normal life from time to time. Like one thing I really missed when I was on the road that I do now a lot is like I can just go over my good friend's house and just chill and watch TV and just kind of kick it. And when I was on a road, I wasn't able to do that. It's just like me by myself the entire time. And plus like random people I'd meet through like Twitter or other things that I'll kick with, but they're not my good friends. I miss my friends I know like all my life, people that I know like 15, 20 years. I miss seeing like my family. And it's just like, I need that. And that's like, that's part of the reason why I'm here. It's like, okay, I can get a base here. I'll have a house here. I can come back here when I want. All my stuff's how I remember it. I can store my stuff. I'm not living out of a suitcase. And it's like, I need part of that. And that's like what I'm trying to like balance now here. Like get a place, get a home base, get someplace I can always come back to that's set up how I want. And when I want to, I can go jet off to wherever and just have a good time for a little bit, come back and just kind of cycle like that.
Good. The home base part. I got some for people that are on the road consistently. Well, you know this, the gym. Okay, that gives you a flood of different chemicals in your brain. It's a safety net. Therapy for a lot of people. Massages, and not the naughty ones, you hornballs, but legit massages release a shit ton of oxytocin in your brain. Relax the muscles, so forth. FaceTime the homies. Okay. Now we have all these different ways to contact the people that were with you, from day one. And I think it's hard for the brain sometimes to understand that they're not there with you, when you have an hour-long FaceTime call, you're seeing their face. And then a morning schedule. Okay. A routine. I do affirmations, people meditate, people go to the gym, just have something that you figure out in the morning that you're always in the same mindset, same way, that will make you replicate the home oxytocin type feelings.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I never really got like a set routine. I feel like that was a big kind of like, I don't want to say downfall, but like I think big thing I liked towards the end of the time is like I'd wake up, I start working, I'll get done working, then I'll just go out and like kind of do whatever. It's just like I never had like a set routine. And one thing you mentioned was like the gym is a big part of that. When you're constantly traveling to like a new place every 2-3 months, it takes a little bit of time. It's like, okay, you're going to miss like 4 or 5 days at the gym. When you leave a place, go to a new place, you got to join a gym, figure out like what to do. And it's like you have a little bit of like lag when you're kind of going these places, and just like getting on like a solid like routine when you just go to the gym like every day for like a couple months. It's like that's a hard thing to like manage in like South America, especially in South America, because the gym scene isn't as good as it is in the US, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Brazil?
But it's just like
Brazil is crazy.
Yeah, Brazil, I only spent 2 months there, but like places in like Colombia and like Mexico was kind of good, but like Peru was bad. It's like I could find a gym, there'd be like one squat rack, and it's always jam packed. And it's just like I miss it, like that good gym routine. That was like one of my favorite hobbies back home, and it's, like being able to do that does like it has like really improved my happiness.
Tell me, don't have to get political, but where do you feel the future of the USA is going? We talked about the remote workers, we talked about all that stuff, but I haven't lived there fully for 6 years now. So I don't even know. I spent maybe 2 months of the Biden administration back in the USA, but from the people I talked to, the air is weird. Tell me, what are you feeling back home?
I feel like what I see in Europe is like the US in like 6 years. I feel like there's going to be increased immigration. I'm not going to say if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I feel like we're just going to increasingly get more diverse, and like the America is going to increasingly become like this, like even a more multicultural country than it is now. And I really don't see a way around it. It's kind of like the way it's going. We're going to get more immigrants every single year, and it's just like it's on a path like towards that I really don't see. And I see a lot more like kind of like socialist policies kind of taking place, especially now as like wealth inequalities like increasing as well. A lot of people are struggling, inflation's kind of high, and it's hard not to see that. And like I understand like why people like support socialism. It's like they're struggling a little bit. The education system kind of lied to them. They come out of school with like $80,000 in debt. They can't get a good job, and they're just kind of struggling. And it's just like I don't see a way that really like fixes itself. And it's the only way, like if you extrapolate that a few years, I feel like we start looking more like a European country where there's more socialist policies, taking care of people and things like that.
See, I love Latin America, okay? I love South America. I love the vibe, but I do not believe any sane person that grew up in the Western world can live down there year round, right? And we talked about the immigration, coming all over, and it's the Latinos and, all that kind of stuff. It's like, great, but Latin America is not, unless you're freaking loaded, okay? Unless you're the top 1%, which a lot of nomads come down there, they're automatically top 1%. They don't deal with many of the bullshit, okay? But if you live down there, and you see the average life for 97%, 98% of the people, like what they actually go through, the middle class, quote unquote. We're not talking about favelas and the 40% of the slums or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
It's not healthy at all, in my opinion. Okay, like every time I've had long excursions down there, by the end of it, I'm gone with my brain, you know, because I didn't grow up in it, right? Okay, maybe we have the Americans grow up in this, but it's scary to me. Really, really scary what is happening. And I don't know. I mean, I'm going to be good either way. Like I kind of gave up on politics a long time ago, but there needs to be some big solutions coming. I don't think a lot of Americans understand what is the tidal wave that is coming.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I want to mention is like you mentioned you gave up on politics. I'm kind of the same way now. I kind of sometimes I post like political stuff on like Twitter, but my mentality is like me putting mental energy into like caring about politics is not going to change politics at all. And I'm like, why am
Or
I
your
putting all
life.
this, like, yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like I'm putting all this effort, all this thought, all this like mental capacity into worrying about something that no matter what I do, I'm not going to change it at all. So it's like, why do I care about this? If anything changes to a point where I don't like it, I'm in a position where I can just move or I can just go somewhere else. And being to have that, it's like, okay, I can just fall back on that and just not care. And just not caring is such like a huge benefit to that. It's like I don't want to get into like these political arguments. It's not going to do anything. I'd just rather focus my like energy on something else.
Before this episode is out, there's going to be an episode about how I found freedom in an unfree world by Harry Brown. I suggest everyone listen to that episode. But saying that, I did an episode with the K9 Reaper. This dude has blown up on Twitter about South Africa, and he is on the front lines trying to save his country for his kids, for his community, and it's completely freaking lawless. I'm 95% going to go there in a couple months to see it for myself, but that begs the question: are we just persons that are going to leave and have other people deal with the problems, or are we going to raise our kids in different situations? Like, where's our patriotic pride? And there's 2 points to this for me. One is that the America, the ideal behind it, were the ancestors that left the crazy to be pioneers in a different place of the world to set up their life of freedom, right? So if the United States of America changes, what's the difference between my ancestors and me finding that American ideal somewhere else, right? But the other part of it is like, damn, should we do what the K9 Reaper is and say, fuck it, and let's go to war and make shit happen? Or, what do you think about that idea?
I understand what you're saying. I lean strongly towards the first one. It's a lot. It's a lot to stay and fight and try and like change things into how you want. It's so much easier just to be like, okay, I don't like this. I'm going somewhere else, or I'm just treat it better. And I kind of like default move into that, partially because I have the ability to do that. And a lot of people, they don't have like an opportunity to say like, okay, I'm going to leave. So they had to stay and just try and change it. But since I have the ability to kind of go and like just leave if I want to, I feel like that's what I would do. If shit really hit the fan, I'll just move somewhere else. And people may say like that's privilege that I'm able to do that, but so what? It's like I worked my life to get to like this point in my life, and it's like I had the ability to do this. It wasn't hard. I really structured my life to be able to give that opportunity to myself. And if push comes to shove, I'm going to be able to take it and just kind of go somewhere else.
It sounds like the nomad capitalist, and he really harps on that idea about what America is. It's not the United States government. It's an ideal in place. How much time do you got left? I see you looking at your watch.
Yeah, I got like 10 minutes left.
All right, to wrap this bad boy up, let's talk about Twitter and the people on there. What kind of the Twitter guys do you like, you bond with, your overall viewpoint on these bubbles that we are in on this website?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I started Twitter, I was just trying to make like friends that were like abroad traveling. And I kind of was just like bullshitting with them, kind of talking. I met a few people up. I met you up in Peru when I was there. I met a few other people. But I feel like I belong to like Nomad, like the bubble, and a little bit of like finance, like Twitter bubble. And it's kind of interesting seeing and just kind of like joking around on there. And a lot of things I post about kind of can be constructed as like manosphere stuff or red pill stuff, but I don't consider myself like one of those posters. One thing I notice a lot about like people that like post a lot of red pill things, they're angry all the time. They're always hating on women. They're always hating on like the life that or like their current structure of life. And that's just not me. When I see that, I'm just like, they're just unhappy. And it's just kind of like their mechanism to like kind of like cope with it, just kind of voice it into the world. And I'm like, I'm not like that. It's like I just want to have fun. It's like if I don't like something, I'm gonna figure out a way to like have fun with it, or just like maneuver myself to give myself like the best kind of like way about it. But yeah, yeah, I think like the finance nomad stuff. I don't consider myself a red pill poster. I try not to hate that much on it because I feel like the negativity is not going to do anything. So that's kind of like my philosophy on that. And I feel like just kind of like sharing like interesting stories from like where I've been and like fun shit I do. A lot of people kind of like resonate on that, and it's just like I got a little bit of followers from it. I'm just going to kind of continue down that path with it.
I think the Rollo Tomasi said that if it goes mainstream, like it did with the Fresh and Fit, it's over. It turns into like no different than feminist crazy people that are yelling at each
Yeah,
other and hate the world and want these massive societal things change for them to be happy. And that's what I see with a lot of these dudes. They get wrapped up in these bubbles and they have an excuse. Okay, they have an excuse to be miserable, hate life, and so forth. And it's like one big circle jerk. That's what it is. It's
yeah,
really,
yeah,
really sad.
yeah.
These Twitter people, though. So name some names that you like.
Uh, I don't even know. It's like I post a lot. I like you. I follow you a lot. I talk to like French OG a lot. I just did a podcast with him, but I feel a little awkward just calling names. I joke around. I like people I talk to, but I wish I could like post a little bit more. But I kind of drawn a blank.
I've only met a handful in person. Okay, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of anonymous accounts and so forth. So I don't know who is who and what is bullshit, what is not. Your experiences meeting these people in person, are we living in a freaking nutcase world? These people are terminally online, or what's the story?
I met a handful of people. They always seem like all but one were good people that I was able to kick it with and just have fun with. The one dude I didn't like, yeah, it was when I was in Lima. It wasn't you. It was like another random person. But he wanted just to go out and Degen girls in a park, and I'm like, this dude was like a weird looking European dude who spoke no Spanish, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? You just go up to girls and try and have like a conversation through like a Google text app, and I'm just like, I need to get the fuck away from here. This is the most awkward thing I can like experience now. But it's like, yeah, that was like the epitome of like a passport bro kind of thing there. And it's like, I don't want to do that. That was kind of like the only odd experience. A lot of the people I have met have been good guys, just like normal dudes, just living their life down in South America because it's cheap and it's just having a good time.
Future of your content? Are you gonna do any YouTube, or are you just gonna keep shit posting on Twitter? What's the plan? You're gonna make some money off it.
Uh,
I mean, you're getting up
yeah,
there now.
yeah, like every 2 weeks I get like $100 from Twitter now, which is kind of fun. I've been thinking about maybe like a YouTube down in like into the future, but I don't know. It's like I have a good job. It's like my job pays me enough, and it's like, do I really want to put forth all this effort to make like a little bit of more money or YouTube, or do I just want to like continue doing what I do like in my day job and just focus on becoming that or being better at that? And it's like my day job's good. It's like I can just keep doing that, focus a lot of energy on that, and keep shit posted on Twitter. And maybe somewhere down the line, I'll like make a YouTube or make some sort of like something like that. But I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, because obviously, I mean, living your life and just creating a brand off it is a nice way to live. You know, if you can just be
Yeah.
your authentic self and not put on the accountant mask during the day, I think it'd be
Yeah.
pretty cool. No,
Yeah. 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 I think so.
good. Anything else to say, Mr. Degen, before you get back to the workday?
No, I think that was it. It was a pleasure talking to you. It's great to see you again. I'm glad you're doing all right. You look great. I love the shirt, very festive. And yeah, thanks for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, hope to see you again sometime in the future. But this time we'll do a little partying, not just a quick coffee. I wish
Yeah,
you the
yeah.
best, and everyone else check out his tweets. The dude he's a character on there for sure, and I look forward to your next adventure outside of USA.
Great. Thank you, man. It was great seeing you.